What can the shadow-like generations of man attain but build up a dazzling mockery of delight that under their touch dissolves again? Oedipus seemed blessed, but there is no man blessed among men. Oedipus overcame the woman-breasted fate. He seemed like a strong tower against death, and first among the fortunate, he sat upon the ancient throne of Thebes, and all men called him great. But looking for a marriage bed, he found the bed of his birth, tilled the field his father had tilled, cast seed into the same abounding earth, entered through the door that had sent him wailing forth. Begetter and begot as one, how could that be hid? What darkness cover up that marriage bed? Time watches, he is eagle-eyed, and all the works of man are known, and every soul is tried. Would you had never come to Thebes, nor to this house, nor riddled with the woman-breasted fate, beaten off death, and succored us, that I had never raised this song, heartbroken Oedipus. Those are very powerful words. I wanted to read them aloud. I don't know if they actually appear. If you look at the end of if you're following along with the video that I provided, which is really wonderful, they cut most of the last, what for us is the last reading out, in favor of very simple statements from Oedipus and the chorus and music, which I think is an interesting choice. But this chorus here must have been chilling for anyone who was really following along, especially in the ancient audience, because Oedipus was, he was flying high. He was the ruler of Thebes. He was the most admired man in the city. And he seemed like the darling of fate, and he was crushed. So it can happen to anybody, I think. And what did happen to Oedipus anyway? I mean, did he ever have a chance? I suppose from the first time I read this play when I was about your age, it always seemed to be terribly unfair that, tragedies are supposed to be about people who bring tragedy upon themselves, I always thought. I guess that's not true, because Oedipus was cursed in the beginning, and one wonders if he ever had a chance. Now, in our reading, I can't help but think of Job. That Job, too, kind of never had a chance. Just has to sort of put up with his fate. Oedipus is a similar figure. And from that moment where he says, oh, all brought to pass, all truth, now, O light, may I look now, O light, may I look my last upon you, having been found accursed in bloodshed, accursed in marriage, and in my coming into the world, accursed. In the great irony, we find that, as the sort of piling on of horror happens at the end of this play, Oedipus finding out that he's murdered his father and committed incest with his mother, that all his children are the product of incest, that he himself is the reason that the curse has come upon the city. His wife and mother, Jocasta, we find, has killed herself. And that Oedipus, when he sees this sight, plunges the sharp pins of her brooches into his eyes. The second messenger here, when he says, when that unhappiest woman lay stretched upon the ground, we saw another dreadful sight. He dragged the golden brooches from her dress, and lifting them, struck them upon his eyeballs, crying out, you have looked enough upon those you ought never to have looked upon, failed long enough to know those that you should have known. Henceforth, you shall be dark. He struck his eyes, not once, but many times, lifting his hands and speaking such or like words. The blood poured down, and not with a few slow drops, but all at once over his beard in a dark shower, as it were hail. Wow, man. It's just like, it is so horrible. And, it's sort of this overwhelming horrible stuff. And then he enters, and his entrance has to be imagined, I suppose, on page 397. Woe, woe is me. Miserable, miserable that I am. Where am I? Where am I going? Where am I cast away? Who hears my words? Oedipus enters, one would imagine, with the bloody eye sockets, his empty eyes, and the great irony that he lived his life in blindness when he should have seen, he says. He should have seen that that the man that he was killing on the crossroads was his own father. He should have seen that the woman he married was his own mother. He should have seen that he himself was the reason for the curse. So I suppose in the ultimate irony, recognizing that he always has metaphorically been blind, he blinds himself. Really, just a completely horrible and dreadful end to this play. Shocking, and just leaves us, if we follow along, especially it's so much better when you read along with the dramatic reading of it and the music. It just, I think, makes it all the more powerful. Oedipus decides not to kill himself. He decides that he will take what the gods have given him. And he's banished from Thebes. And we're left with this last note from the chorus: make way for Oedipus. All people said, that is a fortunate man. And now what storms are beating on his head? Call no man fortunate that is not dead. The dead are free from pain. Wow, what an ending. What a terrible, just a shivering ending, I suppose, saying, this is how a great man fell, Oedipus, and we're all subject to the same sort of unknowns, the same sort of inconsistencies of fate.